Hey guys, how are we doing? Kieran here in the Creative Property Cashflow group. Just adjust the screen a little bit. Okay, technical issues there. Okay, first of all, to those of you who have joined the group, welcome. I've been coaching and mentoring people in property over the last 12 to 18 months or so. I've been full-time myself since 2012 after getting started in 2010. So I've set this group up to focus on some of the strategies we've used in our property journey, the more creative ones, the rent-to-rent, HMOs and service accommodation, but also lease options and assisted sales. Because they're great, they can put cash flow in place really, really quickly. I'm a big believer if you've got enough cash flow, it takes the pressure off you financially. Okay, it takes the pressure off a day job. It allows you to build and grow, invest back into your business, invest time, learn, and take your property journey or growth and your wealth building growth to whatever level you want if there's cash flow in place and there's no financial stress and pressures. So that's why this group's set up. You guys are the first handful to join us. I thought I'd start so we mean to go on and do a live training this week. So I'm going to do one of these every Thursday. What day is it? It's Thursdays now. I'll do one of these every Thursday morning about 11 o'clock because it fits really well with our week. And I was chatting to Ellie yesterday on Messenger, who's just joined the group. We were talking about what you need to do to set up your rent-to-rent business. So I thought, what a great training topic to cover. So here we are. Right. So these creative strategies, rent-to-rent, lease options, assisted sales, none of them are you run-of-the-mill. Okay, so when you meet with an owner, you meet with a vendor, you meet with a landlord, there's a point where we have to start educating them on what we do. Okay, now, if you approach me, I'm a landlord, I've got a property, you approach me with a rent-to-rent proposition. At the end of that conversation, there's a couple of things you want me to walk away with. You want me to believe you're knowledgeable in what you're offering, so you can implement it, and you want me to trust in you that you will implement it and you will deliver on what you promise. Okay, so believe you're knowledgeable and trust you. Now, that whole process doesn't happen in just one conversation. You know, that's all part of the negotiation process and the communication back and forth as you understand their motivations and their decision-making factors, what they're looking to get out of the situation, and how you communicate and negotiate this whole deal from start to finish will build that knowledge, it will display that knowledge, and it will build that trust. But there's a few things we can do to be prepared for those first conversations, because if you're brand new and you're getting started, you've got to start from somewhere, right? You might not have a business, you may never have done a rent-to-rent deal, you may not have any investment property. That's absolutely fine. And the more you do stuff, the more conversations you have, the more experience you get. Guarantee you that. You've got to start from somewhere. So, first of all, if we're going to do any sort of marketing or lead generation or even viewings, at some point there's going to be some online communication. Okay, there's going to be an email from you or an email to you, even if that's through a letting agent or that's a response to some direct advertising. So I would strongly suggest going online, going to a hosting provider and registering a domain name for your business. Okay, now you may have one, you may have an idea in your head, but it'll cost you £6 or £7 a year to register a domain name, and it'll cost you £3 or £4 a month to link an email account to that domain. So, for example, Kieran at Keyword Property looks a lot more professional than goldenballs@gmail.com, for example. Yeah. For the sake of a few quid, get an email account set up and use that for your property correspondence. Now, if you've bought a domain, we can link a website to that domain if we want to. Now, the websites aren't as important as they were pre-social media, but they do portray professionalism, in my opinion. If anybody approaches me to do business, I will Google them and see if they've got a website and how it looks. So for 10 to 15 quid a month, you can set a website up with Squarespace or 123reg or Wix. It hasn't got to be fancy. A couple of pages that demonstrates who you are, explains what rent to rent is, the benefits potentially to a landlord, and your contact details. And you've got a little bit of space on the web that you can direct people to that explain who you are and what you're doing. At some point, you want to get yourself set up as a company. Okay, yes, you could possibly do this in your own personal name, but if you're going to take on a few rent-to-rent deals, and chances are you'll want to, once the first one's in the bag, it makes sense to have a company set up so they're all operating under the same umbrella. Company's House, you can register a company for £8.99, I think it starts at, up to sort of 20 odd quid. You haven't got to be paying an accountant hundreds of pounds to go and do that for you. You just need to allocate shares to whoever's involved, keep it quite simple, and you can always alter how your company's set up in the future as it grows, or a year down the line, or 2 or 3 years down the line as your business evolves and grows. That's not a problem. And you need to pop the right SIT codes in place. So for property management, 68320, and that just says the company you're set up for is property management. Company bank accounts, I would avoid the traditional ones. They can be very, initially anyway, they're very slow to get set up. You have to jump through a million hoops of proving your company's set up and running, whereas you can go to the likes of Tide or Starling and quite often get an account set up in hours, if not a day or so. And that just helps you look professional from the outset. Okay, so you've got a domain, you've got an email address, and your company and bank account is set up ready to go. Because if you find the right landlord, quite often they want their properties let. So you can turn it around. It can be a week sometimes from viewing to signing a contract and getting the keys. So you do want to have everything in place from the get-go. So let me just write all these up here for you. So what did we say? Website, email, limited company through Company's House, and then bank account, Tide or Starling would be my recommendations of where to start. So we can do all that before we even start going to view properties. Once we're up and running, or once we've agreed a deal, there's some other things we need to put in place. We need to put some insurance in place. So from an insurance point of view, we need professional indemnity. I need to get some new pens, don't I, and sort these bright window reflections out. Professional indemnity and some public liability insurance. So that covers you for the advice or decisions you make, professional indemnity, and if someone falls over or a tradesman falls down the stairs, trips over a bit of carpet, public liability insurance. We need to register with the property redress scheme. So there's a PRS or the property ombudsman in the UK. We register with PRS. I think it's £125 a year it starts at for their basic package. You only need to do that once, for each company you've got, and that's an annual fee that you pay every year. You need to register with the ICO for data protection. I think that starts about, depends on the company size, it'll start about £40, £50 to register with them, and that's just because you're holding tenant data, client data, landlord data, and there's some processes you need to put in place that they can guide you through on the website. And then after that, if you go down the HMO route, then obviously licensing comes into place. So every HMO property has to have a license, and the license holder can either be the owner or it can be the managing agent. So it can be us as a rent-to-rent operator. I'll do another training in more detail on these, but you need to make sure if you are going down the HMO route that there is a license in place, that it will pass a license, it's up to standard. Otherwise, all those things need to come back into your negotiation. And that can be great for us at the moment because licensing laws changed a couple of years ago. There's a lot of licenses coming up for renewal with old school landlords who haven't got the motivation, the time, or the effort, or the inclination even to be reinvesting back into their properties, and that creates opportunity for us. We can take over that and do that for them. But if we need to improve fire doors or upgrade alarms or detectors, we need to factor all that sort of thing into our negotiation at the very start. So, yeah, just to quickly recap, get yourself set up a website and email and a company name. Even if you never use your company and you never really use your website, you will look professional from the outset, and it's not going to cost a huge amount. Company bank account, I'll start off with as well. Again, if you don't use it, there's no ongoing fees with these. You can kind of just shut them down at any point. And then once you've agreed a deal, insurance, PRS, and ICO registration is what you need to crack on with. So, cheers guys. This will be saved in the guide section that people will come back to. And I will leave it there now. A nice, short and sweet one. And I'll see you next Thursday.